Imagine a world where two powerful city-states, each with their unique strengths and culture, become entangled in a fierce struggle for supremacy that reshapes the course of history. In this video, we'll dive into the thrilling saga of the Peloponnesian War, 431 to 404 BC, an epic conflict between Athens and Sparta that forever altered the landscape of ancient Greece. We'll uncover the drama, the cunning strategies, and the devastating consequences that unfolded during this monumental clash. Are you ready to journey back to the 5th century BCE and witness a tale of rivalry, ambition, and downfall? Let's unravel the mysteries of the Peloponnesian War. The Peloponnesian War: rivalry, conflict, and lessons learned. To truly understand the Peloponnesian War, we must first get to know the key players, Athens and Sparta. Both city-states were powerhouses in ancient Greece, but they couldn't have been more different. Athens, the birthplace of democracy, was a center of art, philosophy, and intellectual pursuits. It boasted an impressive navy and a bustling economy, with thriving trade and commerce. In contrast, Sparta was a rigid military state, known for its fearsome warriors and strict social hierarchy. Its citizens lived a disciplined life, with an emphasis on physical fitness and military training. Despite their differences, Athens and Sparta initially formed an alliance during the Persian Wars to fend off a common enemy. However, as the threat of Persia faded, their contrasting ideologies and ambitions set the stage for an escalating rivalry. With tensions simmering, it was only a matter of time before these two mighty city-states would clash in a struggle for supremacy. The Peloponnesian War was about to begin, and the entire Greek world would be drawn into the conflict. The Delian and Peloponnesian Leagues. The Delian League was initially created as a united front against Persian aggression. However, as the Persian threat waned, Athens began using the League to extend its influence and bolster its own power. This shift led to increasing resentment and friction within the alliance. Meanwhile, Sparta formed the Peloponnesian League, an alliance of city-states that shared its military values and conservative ideology. Members of the Peloponnesian League swore allegiance to Sparta and committed to providing military support in times of conflict. As the two leagues continued to grow and consolidate power, their rivalries and disputes spilled over to the rest of the Greek world. Alliances and political machinations deepened the divide between Athens and Sparta, and the once united Greece was now on the brink of tearing itself apart. The tension between the Delian and Peloponnesian Leagues would prove to be a catalyst for war. The Peloponnesian War was a complex and protracted conflict, spanning nearly 3 decades. For the sake of clarity, historians often divide the war into 3 major phases: the Archidamian War, the Peace of Nicias, and the Decelean War, with the Sicilian Expedition being a pivotal event. The Archidamian War, 431 to 421 BCE. The first phase of the war, named after the Spartan king Archidamus II, saw both Athens and Sparta struggle to gain the upper hand. Athenian strategy relied on avoiding land battles with the superior Spartan army and striking at their enemies' coastlines. Meanwhile, Sparta, with its powerful army, invaded Attica, the region surrounding Athens, laying waste to the countryside but avoiding a direct assault on Athens' formidable walls. However, in 430 BCE, a devastating plague struck Athens, killing a significant portion of its population, including its influential leader Pericles. The plague weakened Athens, but the city continued to fight, launching a successful counterattack on the Peloponnesian coast. The Peace of Nicias, 421 BCE. After a decade of conflict, both sides were exhausted and sought respite. The Peace of Nicias, a treaty named after the Athenian general Nicias, brought a temporary halt to hostilities. The peace treaty was fragile, as neither side fully trusted the other, and both Athens and Sparta continued to vie for power and influence in the Greek world. During this time, alliances shifted, and new tensions arose. The Sicilian Expedition, 415 to 413 BCE. A turning point in the war came when Athens, seeking to expand its influence and recover from the setbacks of the first phase, launched a bold expedition to conquer Sicily. This ambitious campaign aimed to subdue the powerful city of Syracuse and gain control of the island's resources. However, the Sicilian expedition ended in catastrophe. Poor leadership, strategic blunders, and the intervention of Spartan forces led to the Athenian forces suffering a crushing defeat. The Decelean War, 413 to 404 BCE. With Athens reeling from its losses in Sicily, Sparta seized the opportunity to press its advantage. During the final phase of the war, known as the Decelean War, Sparta established a fortified base in Attica, named Deceleia, which allowed them to harass Athenian supply lines and further weaken their enemy. The Athenian countryside was under constant threat, forcing many rural residents to take refuge within the city walls, exacerbating food shortages and overcrowding. Meanwhile, the Spartan navy was bolstered by an unlikely ally, Persia. In 405 BCE, the Spartan navy defeated the Athenian fleet at the Battle of Aegospotami, effectively cutting off Athens' access to food and supplies. The Athenian navy was virtually destroyed, leaving the city helpless against Spartan pressure. With little choice, Athens was forced to surrender in 404 BCE, bringing the long and brutal Peloponnesian War to an end. The Peloponnesian War had come to a close, but the devastation left behind would have lasting effects on both Athens and Sparta, as well as the entire Greek world. The decline of Athens. Athens, once a great city, was humbled by its defeat. As part of the terms of surrender, the city's walls were torn down, its fleet dismantled, and its empire dissolved. The political and economic power of Athens was significantly diminished, and it never fully regained its former glory. The weakening of Sparta. Although victorious, Sparta was not immune to the destructive effects of the war. Its own resources and population had been stretched thin by the protracted conflict, and the city-state struggled to maintain control over its newly acquired territories. Instability in Greece. The Greek city-states were left exhausted and fragmented by the Peloponnesian War. Political instability, economic decline, and social unrest were widespread, setting the stage for further conflict and weakening the once unified Greek world. The rise of Macedonia. With Athens and Sparta weakened by the war, a power vacuum emerged in the Greek world. This void was filled by the rising kingdom of Macedonia, led by King Philip II and later his son, Alexander the Great. The weakened city-states were unable to resist Macedonian expansion, and ultimately, Greece became part of the Macedonian Empire. By examining the mistakes and choices made by Athens and Sparta, we can better understand the importance of diplomacy, cooperation, and the dangers of unchecked ambition. Throughout the war, there were numerous opportunities for both sides to de-escalate tensions and find peaceful solutions. However, mistrust, pride, and the desire for power often led to the rejection of diplomatic efforts, resulting in prolonged suffering and devastation. The Peloponnesian War teaches us the perils of overreach and the pursuit of unrealistic goals. Both Athens and Sparta would have benefited from a more measured and realistic assessment of their capabilities and limitations. Before the Peloponnesian War, the Greek city-states had banded together to repel the Persian invasions, showcasing the power of cooperation. After the war, the fractured Greek world was unable to maintain its unity and strength, ultimately paving the way for external powers like Macedonia to rise and dominate the region. The Peloponnesian War is a stark reminder of the immense human cost of war. The conflict resulted in the deaths of tens of thousands of soldiers and civilians, devastated economies, and left lasting scars on the Greek world. In conclusion, the Peloponnesian War stands as a testament to the devastating consequences of rivalry, ambition, and the failure of diplomacy. Both Athens and Sparta, once the shining beacons of the Greek world, were left weakened and vulnerable in the war's aftermath, paving the way for the rise of external powers and the eventual decline of the classical Greek era. The lessons learned from this monumental conflict continue to resonate today. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the Peloponnesian War. We invite you to engage in the discussion by sharing your thoughts in the comments section below. If you would like to see a deep dive into the phases of this conflict or any other historical event, please let us know. Until next time.